All right, but help me understand something. I'm not trying to be obstinate.
No, I get it.
I generally don't get this. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. So the last days, the period from the death and resurrection of Jesus until he returns, the period that we're in now, the last days, I'll pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. And then it goes on from there. Even on my servants, both men and women, I'll pour out my spirit in those days. So these are the days in which we're living, and they will prophesy. So when does it, and then we're told explicitly to earnestly desire the gifts, especially prophecy. When does the New Testament tell us not to pursue those gifts? When did the last days suddenly end?
Well, if Joel's prophecy of the last days also includes the signs of the heavens, right? Does that not that same prophecy? And then chapter 3, verse 1 describes the judgment that will come in the valley of Megiddo, and chapter 3 describes those end time events, which as a memory serves you, historic premillennialist, right? You would say that there yet is to come a kingdom, a literal kingdom for national Israel, and that there will be manifestation of those gifts in that kingdom.
Right. But it never stops. In other words, there will be the final conflict. We haven't gotten to the final conflict.
Let Jim finish.
So what I would say, what my answer to that would be that on the day of Pentecost, you saw the pouring out of the Spirit and the initiation of that. You did see miraculous gifts being poured out on the day of Pentecost. And the ultimate fulfillment of that, when I think there will be an even greater increase in those manifestations, will be connected to the kingdom age. I think what Peter was saying on the day of Pentecost is what you're seeing here is a glimpse of what is to come at the very end of this age that we're living in now. So I don't think that everything in Joel's prophecy was fulfilled at the day of Pentecost, nor do I think it is necessarily intended to continue today. I think there will be an even greater intensified manifestation of that at the end of the age when the Lord returns.
All right, but if I'm just basing things on the word, right, because that's what we're both seeking to do before the Lord. He does say, in the last days, I'll pour out my spirit. Okay, so you're saying it's at the beginning, and then at the end, then there's going to be this big gap. I see no mention of a gap. And then I have a New Testament command as a believer to earnestly desire the gifts, especially prophecy. So I'm bound by the word to do that, not to despise prophecy, test everything. So if I just focus on that one thing based on the word, I should expect this to continue to this day, A, and D, I'm commanded by God to earnestly pursue the gifts, especially prophecy.
So did Joel's prediction that I will display wonders in the sky and on the earth, blood and fire, columns of smoke, the sun will be turned into darkness, the moon into blood? That's the very next verse. Did that happen on the day of Pentecost? And do we expect that to see that every day in the natural creation?
It doesn't say that the sun will be turned. That hasn't happened. I am pouring out my spirit. That is happening. And the sun will be turned. That hasn't happened yet. But this outpouring of the Spirit has begun. How do you make the distinction between
those two? You're making a distinction, the same kind of distinction, a distinction of the same nature that I'm making. I'm saying that these things, some of these things began to happen on the day of Pentecost. I don't think that the fullness of them was achieved at the day of Pentecost, nor that the fullness of that prophecy is being achieved today.
Will you agree that prophecy began then?
I believe that there was prophecy then, yes. I believe that it began then, and I don't think that people speaking authoritatively with the voice of God in an infallible and inerrant way it continues till today.
Okay, but hang on, just based on...
But you and I are going to disagree on the nature of prophecy.
Right, but we can get to that.